Welcome back, everybody. Today's video, we took a quick gander at Dota 2 Pro Tracker to see the carries with the highest win rates in 7.34. And so what we're seeing here that is kind of alarming based on what I'm hearing about the feedback from people in my stream is that Sven, with 1,000 sample size, pretty large, in my bracket, is rocking a 55.6% win rate. That's even higher than Gyro, who's arguably the best carry in the patch right now, who's the most picked, and also has a 55% win rate. So let's go ahead and check out exactly what's working out for Sven. So I decided to pull up a replay of Sven players. And even though I see RTZ with 18 matches, one player I've really been wanting to look at is Nightfall, who has a 71% win rate across 7 matches in the last week of Sven. So let's go ahead and check out a replay from him and see what there is to learn about what makes Sven so good this patch. So what I've liked about Sven so much this patch is that he has a nice laning stage. He has pretty high base damage. He has a stun for securing range creeps as well as just contesting CS in general. And then they also gave him his cleave. This was a few patches ago, that his cleave gives 2, 4, 6, 8 strength. And so what I've really felt about this patch with Sven is that he's good against Gyro because of Warcry giving AoE armor to his team. He's good against PA because of the same reason. He gives AoE armor to his team. And then he also just feels really good on the open map right now because in the early game, he goes for these low-cost items that allow him to participate in fights pretty early. And then he also gets a timing where he plays off map with Blink or Silver Edge, and he just assassinates the enemy team if they're trying to come back into the game by farming. So Sven really is a snowball hero through and through. He has a pretty solid laning phase. He has really good flash farm potential, and he comes online really fast. So that's what I'm kind of expecting to see in this replay. And let's go ahead and check out what Nightfall decides to do. So he starts with a stick. I think stick this patch is really strong on any carry that either has decent base damage and or an ability that helps them get CS. So Sven fits both of those because he has his stun, and he also has good base damage. Because the only concern about stick is that you kind of just get out CS'd. So even with a Pudge 5, feels like he is free farming to start the lane. Making sure he can test every single range because of the fact that he's Sven, he can do that with the stun. We've talked about that numerous times already, even though we're only at 2 minutes into the video. Finishes the wand first and foremost. Give himself some free slots. Damn, his Pudge is absolutely owning. Takes Warcry level 2 and actually just uses it to trade. That's kind of cool. Ends up getting a kill on the Rubik. That's a really cool part of Sven, actually, is that he's level 2 and he just uses Warcry to hit. He's not even sure, like, you know, whether or not this is going to turn into a kill, but because Pudge is able to connect, they manage to land the hook and get a kill. And the stick's going to allow him to have, like, more gas in the tank. Because if he doesn't have Wand right now, right, then he's kind of just out of mana. And then the threat of the hero is lackluster. Prioritizing denies over CSing there. It's interesting. Missed a CS in order to get that deny. Not really sure why he would do that. Usually carries prioritize CSing. Goes for the Belt of Strength as opposed to potentially the Glove of Haste or the Boots component of Treads. That pretty much just means that he thinks the base damage is the most important thing. Even opts to level Cleave. I've been doing this as well. Cleave level 1 got buffed significantly. It used to be 25% and now it's 40%. So when you hit a creep, you're still harassing for like 30 damage. But most notably, you also get 2 bonus strength. So a lot of times people would hold on to Cleave so that they don't push the wave. But because of that bonus strength, I've been inclined myself to level it. So it's cool to see that he's doing that. And it seems like Sven really just wants a support that's down to Brawl. So he actually doesn't seem to mind Pudge 5. Pudge kind of griefed his landing equilibrium there. So he attempts to draw aggro to his range. And it looks like it's really important with Sven, because of the cleave getting leveled, that you have this small camp. So if I'm playing Sven, I'm probably going to communicate to my 5, like, hey, it's really important we have the small camp available. Because in times like this, it just makes the most sense to get solo XP from the creeps, let your 5 pull, and then the lane's going to come back anyways. And because of the pull, they're allowed to fight on the side. Looks like he's not afraid to take a trade pretty much anytime he has stun available and Warcry. So he just goes straight treads. Maybe in a more harass-heavy lane like a Skywrath Mage or something, he would consider a Bracer. But in this case, just go straight for the treads. I've been noticing a lot of carries are opting to just play for the farm game, whether you're Gyro, Luna, Sven, Really, the only hero that I've seen in the meta right now that buys laning items is PA because she doesn't jungle fast early game. So yeah, he's just pushing the lane forward, really not interacting with the opponents. That's what we're seeing so far. And I've kind of taken the same approach when I'm playing Luna, Wraith King with the skeletons. Terrorblade feels really good when doing this. Like, pretty much saying, offlaner, you're in the way. I'm just going to hit the creeps and then walk away. So notice how little time he's actually in lane. And the only time he's really in lane is when his Pudge was fishing for a hook. So suddenly he gets level 6 at 6 minutes. That's like a super early timing. And it feels good on all of these heroes that I'm talking about to just prioritize your levels. Because these heroes that operate with jungling early, you can turn these early levels into more and more for yourself. And I feel like that allows your team to do whatever. So he just pops his ultimate to farm. I would not hesitate to do that. I think it's really important because it just speeds up this process. Notice how he goes and jungles and then comes back to lane. He manages to clear both camps before the 7-minute mark and make it back to lane in time. So the reason why this ult is so important, it seems so simple, but it just speeds up that rotation. So it gives him that extra 1 or 2 jungle camps and then allows him to get back to lane. And even something that just gives you like 200 XP, 200 gold at this stage in the game effectively is huge. Because it's going to be a snowball effect where you get that Mask of Madness earlier, you get your level 12 earlier with your second level of ultimate, and you can just see how that kind of snowballs. And we really emphasized how important it is to snowball on Sven. I think prioritizing his own timing over the offlaners is what you're seeing Nightfall do here. Certain carries that don't jungle as fast, like Monkey King, PA, it might be more worth it to like static the wave in front of tower and not let them walk up. But as a hero like Sven, you're seeing that the best optimal route is to just push and ignore the offlaner. Anytime I have this luxury, I feel really good. So, just popping ultimate off cooldown, leaving the lane. Look how fast he jungles, even at just 9 minutes in. And it looked like this game was going to be smooth sailing because they were up by 2k, and suddenly his team's making it interesting. Only a 1k advantage. Notice how he's looking at the fight, just to kind of keep tabs on what's going on in the game. At this stage of the game, all I've really been deciding is whether or not I'm going to go back to this lane. Like, am I going to stay over here, potentially go to this part of the jungle, or am I going to go back to lane? So he's almost certainly looking at this fight to get kind of an idea of what spells are casted, whether or not he feels safe going back to this lane. And that's probably going to be determined by when the Batrider and Rubik spawn, like where they're going to go. So he actually didn't wait for like Batrider to show or anything. I'd say that was like a minor risk that the opponent just like TP 2 or 3 heroes bottom to kill him, but they probably would have needed to see him to do that. Notice how he's even expanding into these camps now because he cleared all of the bottom camps and the wave in the last minute. Once again, popping ulti off cooldown. I really feel like ever since they made all of these camps, heroes like Sven don't have to go Ancients. And the biggest part about this is that this part of the map is just completely dead. Like, just nobody on your team that wants to do anything, supports, mid, offlane, want to go there. So if as a carry, I don't take these 5 camps, these 3 down here and these 2 over here, they're just sitting there. And it's important to note that on Dire, these camps give 7 HP regen up here. And then down here on Radiant, they give 1.5 mana regen. So on a hero like Sven, notice how he had the raindrops from lane, but then he's just not running out of mana, even before he got the Oblivion Staff. And that's just shown by, even if he spends like 2 minutes in this area total, you know, that's 180 mana. And if you're looking at a Sven with 180 less mana right now, that would be a significant difference. So a lot of people have been asking me about farming patterns in the current patch, and I feel like I really rotate out of my lane when nothing else is happening on the map and I see multiple heroes down here. So notice how like the enemy respawned, he started here, and he just made his way all the way over here. He never TP'd, right? He just walked here while farming camps. And then he even TP's back. This is something I've also done, where suddenly, you know, you walked all the way across the map while farming, and a huge fight breaks out top. 8 heroes in the game are there. So you immediately start that same rotation again. Goes from bottom all the way back to mid. And this just feels really smooth. I call this kiting the opponent on the map, because now you pushed out bottom lane, one of them, in this case the Batrider, TP's here, and then they're going to look to invade the jungle again. So notice how he never doubled back. He never like did this camp and then went back to bottom. He just took this wave after a TP and then started this rotation over again. So I feel like the 2 primary rotations for carries right now, and we're seeing Nightfall demonstrate that, is to leave lane at like minute 6 or 7 if possible, and do like this rotation back to here and then back to lane. And then once it's a little bit later and the opponent might be ganking you, to like push out the lane and then do this rotation all the way across the map. He's now done this rotation twice. Notice how he's even like circling there, probably in my woods. And now for the first time, he has level 12. Ultimate available that he didn't use for farming because he's now at the point where he farms fast enough without it. Connects to a fight around mid. And what's so nice about walking across the map like this and then TPing to farm when there's a fight up here is that fights usually take a bit of time to reset. So notice how, like, both teams had to collect their resources, they had to respawn. So by the time another fight happened, he was there. So rather than walking away from the fight and farming, he TP'd away from it and then farmed back towards his team. He farmed literally all the way across the map to this camp, cleared it, saw a fight mid, and TP'd to it. So the more often you can hold TPs while farming, it just results in these type of plays. So one thing I've thought about on Sven is whether or not you need to buy Blink and win. And I saw on Pro Tracker that about 70% of people go Blink. Usually it's right here. And one thing I've noticed on Sven is that I ask myself, do I feel the need to kill them? Or is my main concern that I die? So it doesn't really boil down to who you're matched up against, but more so how farmed you are in comparison to the opponent. And if I'm allowed to just farm with impunity and I'll never die, I'll usually prioritize other items. So in this case, he's going BKB, and we can see that, you know, that's reflected in the fact that he's #1 net worth right now. Because if you're #1 net worth right now and you go Blink Dagger, that's just a chance to throw it away. That's a chance to like overcommit on the PA and get lassoed, stuff like this. So I prefer the approach that he's taking right now. But if the game were a bit closer, maybe your mid laner was higher net worth than you and you want to like amp him up to be more powerful, then maybe a Blink's more worth consideration. But if I'm the most farmed hero in the game on Sven, I've noticed I just want a BKB. I just want to run in, you know? And that also has to do with the fact that his team has pretty decent catch. Like without him, he doesn't necessarily have to initiate. They have Spear Breaker, they have Invoker. And once I get BKB, the transition you see here, what I really like is that he's actually leaving the Echo Saber assembled. I've never done this. He's leaving it assembled because it's better for farming, and if he were to need the BKB right now, he would disassemble it. But he's also, like, he's planning on rebuilding the Echo Saber, right? So he has it flying out. That's a nice little efficiency play that I've actually never done, and I find that to be quite simple, but awesome. But now, instead of playing on your side of the map, you're just farming on their side of the map. That's really the big difference about this BKB. Is it allows you to now be an off-map hero like you saw there, who can kill people who are farming on the opponent team. If they show up in your way, right? He was just farming. He's not like chasing people across the map. So he used his ultimate. Is he going to look to fight even without ultimate? This is interesting. So BKB, no ultimate. He's still choosing to fight. I feel like personally here, why I could see this being good would be that the new Minimark came out. So by running aggressively on the new minute at 16, he's effectively taking this PA's triangle, kind of like pinning her here, and then he's just going to farm backwards. So I imagine he wouldn't have done this if it was a different timer on the clock, which is kind of cool. So notice how his team finds people on the map and he constantly TPs. I feel like I don't do this enough on Sven. This whole idea of just like instantly TPing to your team when they find kills. And what I really like this game, so the reason why he's prioritizing Shadowblade, I did the same thing against PA the other day, is that PA is a vision hero. I also think of like PL as a vision hero, Naga as a vision hero. Like these are heroes that will see you coming before you see them. Either because they have illusions scouting you out, or in the case of PA because she has blur. So when you're dealing with these type of heroes, they're usually pretty squishy at this stage in the game. And what keeps them alive is the fact that they can see you. And so Shadowblade, for me, is a more preferred option than Blink. And it's doubly effective in the case of Silver Edge against PA because you break her evasion passive and her crit passive. What's so important about watching a game like this, even though they're up by 7k, is this a point in the game that a lot of Svens will potentially throw? If you die once or twice like an idiot right here, like if you overextend with one Blink Dagger or something like that, you could very well lose on Sven. Because we've talked about how much of like a momentum snowball hero this guy is. So he now uses the Shadow Blade to just hunt, even for a support. Setting up a crucial kill. And once again, doing this on the minute. Notice how he finishes these plays on the enemy side of the map. And now he can just farm backwards if he so chooses, but he's even looking for more. This is a play where I would have just gone backwards. But he chooses to use the tail end of his ultimate to look for a fight. And I guess he's assessing that even without his ultimate, he's so far ahead that they can fight. So if this game was like 4 or 5k advantage, maybe he wouldn't do this. But with the 7k advantage that they had leading up to this, he now TPs away because his ultimate was CD and they had already killed the PA. And he wants to reset the lanes. So what I'm seeing from Nightfall that I wouldn't do is that he's stickier for fights. You know, he got a fight here earlier and he ran into the triangle even without ultimate. He gets a kill over here. He farms one camp. And then that's almost like, oh, he went back to farm. Like the opponent's thinking that, right? Like he went back to farm. I feel like farming that one camp gives them a false sense of security. And then he like walks right back into the enemy jungle looking for them. So that's a really cool play. Talents, he took the attack speed and the god strength. Those are the ones I always take unless I really need the cleave damage, usually against like PL. Maybe Naga, but usually just PL. Even takes the opponent Tormentor. Efficiency. What's so nice about Sven is how briefly he has to show on waves. You know, it's just 2 hits and you're out of there. And then when you're off map, the opponent has to be terrified, right? They have no idea where you are. He's not even going to show on the wave yet. He's going to run through with a Silver Edge. Notice how now that he sees 4 heroes bottom on the mini-map, he chooses to clear the wave. Looks like Roche is on the docket for him. They have really nice vision, making sure that the opponent, if they do contest, they're ready for it. And since they see the enemy, instead of going for Roche, he's opting to go for the fight. Does get dusted. Doesn't quite have his Satanic. It's surprising to me that he's forcing this fight with no Satanic yet. He's really close to a big item. And then he also got dusted. So like his initiation was missed. What I'm really seeing about Sven in my games, and when I've lost to it, is that his timings are just far faster than pretty much every carry in the game. And that was something that I even mentioned at the start of this video, but it's becoming even more and more apparent based on what Nightfall is doing in this game. There's like 3 fights that he's already like forced that I would not have. And I would say it's almost telling me that I'm too basic about like, oh, I want my ultimate. But it really matters to him, I feel like, is that he has BKB available. Like, that's really been his only requirement, that he has been able to not die. Right? He doesn't need his ultimate. He just needed to have BKB. In this case, he has a huge timing, Satanic, ultimate, level 20, BKB, gets the 2-man stun. And that's pretty much going to seal the deal, I imagine. As he's relentlessly chasing them. I will say this, that I would say the deal is sealed. But against PA, really anything can happen. I think it is ultra crucial that you play super clean from here. And we do know that's what he's going to do. But let's just kind of see like how he approaches this. How do we end the game? There have been many a games lost to a PA, even when she's down by 20k. So it looks like Roche is now the play with his next ultimate. So last time he elected to fight them outside of Roche rather than going for Roche. What does he elect to do this time? Looks like the same thing. He's using Roche as a means for the opponent to be pressured in order to fight him. That's cool. Let's actually stop this for a second, because it's no surprise that the enemy has done this twice, right? Like they're like, oh, they might be Roshing, run towards bottom, and when it was daytime, and oh, they might be Roshing, run towards top at Dire. During nighttime. So I would imagine that this on Sven this is news to me, that this is crucial on Sven because Sven, first off, is not a very good Aegis hero because you have God Strength, and when you respawn from Aegis, you don't have it anymore. So you're like a transformation hero of sorts. But you're also insanely good at killing people off map. And the only way that the Silver Edge can backfire is if the opponent's like set up with sentries. And if you're threatening an objective and they're running into you, then that's not the case. So that's really cool. He's done that same move twice now. And in this case, since it wasn't a team fight, just a pick off, they actually go back for the Rosh. Last time he just got the pick off, or last time they took the entire engagement. Once again, baiting the creep wave. Notice how he doesn't just show on the obvious creep waves anymore. Now that he has this Silver Edge Satanic, even just before the Satanic, just the Silver Edge, I like that he did that quick walk past the creep wave with the Silver Edge. He did it here. He did it here. He's just kind of fishing, you know? If somebody walks up, let's kill him. Even gave the Aegis to somebody else on his team because Sven's such a bad Aegis hero. I might have still taken it myself, to be honest. Is that his first, second BKB usage? No, this is like third. Okay. So one thing that's really nice about Sven in the current meta right now is that you can have Harpoon be a Blink replacement. And if you have Blink already, you can still go Harpoon, because if you Blink on them, stun, and they get 4-stabbed or something, you can still Harpoon them back into you. So I feel like even without Blink, Harpoon's great, and even with Blink, it's great as well. So giving that Echo Saber an upgrade, suddenly like this hero that went Mask of Madness Echo in the past, just has that extra slot, that extra upgrade to a slot. And you'd say, why not last patch, BSJ? You know, now God Strength also gives you that 30, 35, 40% slow resistance, which makes him feel really nice against getting kited. That's been noticeable. It feels noticeably more difficult to kite Sven. And it's going to be an insanely clean victory for Nightfall. Now, that was a picturesque, perfect game for Sven. But that's all the reasons that we like Sven right now. Strong lane, ignore the enemy at minute 6, jungle through the creeps camps, do this rotation where you go back and forth between lane. Then he sweeps the entire map. And then when a fight occurs top, he TPs back bottom and starts it over. And then once he gets that BKB, he begins his farming pattern on the other side of the map, where if somebody gets in his way, he then kills them. And then he goes for a Shadow Blade and just hunts people past creep waves. So just like a very smooth transition throughout every stage of the game. And even opting to go for Bloodthorn as another way to deal with PA for that True Strike. I hope you guys learned something along with me here. Thanks for watching. That's Nightfall playing Sven. 55% win rate hero in the Immortal bracket this patch with a pretty large sample size. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you around next time.